Welcome to the Generation Hustle podcast, a show that explores the world of business, entrepreneurship, and culture, all centered around the millennial. I'm your co-host Sherison alongside my good friend Amin, and today we speak with Ben Feferman. 2020 has been an eerily quiet year for the sporting world. However, the virtual sporting world has been growing at an incredible rate. For the record, esports have been around for a while, but the industry of gaming has radically shifted in recent years. Currently, esports boasts more active viewers than every major sports league in America besides the NFL, and it is estimated that by 2022, the online gaming industry will be worth more than $1.8 billion. So we wanted to get a closer look. By day, Ben Feferman is the CEO of Amuka Esports, but by night, he's 5K Fef. That's his gamer tag on Twitch, where he streams games such as Grand Theft Auto, CSGO, and Fortnite. With extensive experience in the gaming industry as an investor and advisor, Ben has built Amuka Esports to be Canada's leader in esports venues, online leagues, and tournaments. With prominent investors like Toronto Raptors' Rondae Hollis Jefferson, Ben is determined to build the first billion-dollar esports company. So we speak to Ben about his journey in the industry, how to scale gaming communities, and the possibility of esports becoming an ESPN staple. The future of gaming is definitely bright.
We also want to give a special shout out to today's sponsor, Podcorn. So let me ask you this. You're a growing brand looking to partner with other companies to help scale your business? Or you're like us, a podcast looking to brands to partner with? Like many business founders, you find it extremely difficult to find these opportunities. Well, that was their case originally for the Generation Hustle podcast before we started using Podcorn. Podcorn is a marketplace connecting podcasters to amazing sponsorship opportunities, such as host-read ads, interview segments, topical discussions, and more. With Podcorn, there is no middleman. Podcasters of all sizes can browse and choose opportunities right on the platform, set their own rates, and collaborate with brands directly with no exclusivities. This opens up the opportunity for you as a business or a podcast to scale much faster. So what are you waiting for? Check out podcorn.com to start growing.
Huge thank you for being a part of this. One of the industries we really want to talk about is esports, and obviously you're very actively involved in it. So again, a huge thank you for being a part of this.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Sweet.
100%.
So let's get started. In terms of esports, it's like one of the fastest growing industries in the market today. It's very well known. But that really wasn't the case when it first kind of started out, right? So it's only been in recent years that it's come out to prominence. So like walk us through your personal journey and involvement within the sports and gaming industry, and like what about it appealed to you?
Yeah, like many in the industry, I was gaming since I was a little kid, probably about 5 or 6 years old when NES came out. And it was a huge part of my childhood, a huge part of growing up. After university, got jobs and things like that. And then back in 2015, I just like jumped over like a huge part of my life by just saying jobs and stuff. But, for the sake of brevity for the listeners. I met someone named Menashe, who's the president of Enthusiast Gaming at I think like a cocktail party or fundraiser. And, this was 2015. So esports is, it's getting momentum, but still pretty early. And, he told me about his company, what he wanted to do. And so I invested in the company then and really was able to follow that journey. And the company IPO'd in, I think, 2018 on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And then, for myself, as I went into investment banking, I started raising money for some esports companies and then kind of had that moment like, I actually really think that I could do a better job than some of the companies we're raising for, or just that we had a different strategy. And so put my entire investment bank on hold and just went all in to create Amuka Esports and basically create esports hubs, really across Canada.
Sweet. I love that. So what would you describe like the aha moment for like esports industry to really put it on the map? Was it like a game like League of Legends, or like social media influence, or a platform like Twitch or whatnot?
Yeah, it's a combination. It's probably about last summer. Call of Duty had their World Finals or Canadian Finals in Toronto. big, huge event. So to actually go to a real LAN event, and see it, I think that was one is like, wow, now I get the energy. Like I hadn't really been to other like big LAN events before that. And the other one was I was at an esports convention or conference, and they had all these experts talking about the industry, and I asked a pretty kind of simple question about. I think it was actually about Super League Gaming that I think just IPO'd at the time. And like none of the people knew. I don't even think they even had heard of Super League Gaming. And I was kind of thinking, wow, like these are the thought leaders, and this is who's kind of representing esports, and they've never. I'm not saying I don't want to pass too many judgments, but I just was like, okay, maybe I should throw my hat in the ring, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. For me personally, like it was the guys at FaZe. I remember just growing up watching them on YouTube. And obviously, as kids growing up, Call of Duty was huge, Halo as well. So I think those kind of games really brought my kind of knowledge of the industry per se. I mean, by no means I'm an expert in the industry like you. I haven't really followed it, or I'm not actively gaming right now, but I think there's a lot of kind of great things that are coming out of esports. So like you mentioned, you started Amuka Esports. Let's talk about what Amuka Esports does, and then let's get into obviously the casual versus pro gaming and how that differs as well.
Great. Love that topic a lot. It's really a core part of what we're doing. So really, it started, we had a few iterations. I think at first we wanted to build an esports fund and invest in early stage companies. And then really that kind of morphed into, you know what, we really want to be operating these companies and being way more hands-on than just investing. So we acquired over the past year about 5 companies, all of them based in Toronto or based in Canada. And the goal is really that, the esports industry is not as big as people think. I'll be the first to say $1 billion industry is not huge. That's not, I mean, it's not a massive industry. And I think everyone would think it's way bigger than that. It's not. The video game industry is $150 billion. It's a different story, but the actual competitive video game playing is small. And so the different verticals, I always felt needed to be rolled up together. So what we do is we have 2 venues. We have the largest esports venue in Canada. But we also run all of the tournaments, all the live broadcasts. Like we do everything.
Mm-hmm.
And our sort of flagship location is again like a LAN center. How hard is that to like get some tables and computers and charge people by the hour? Like any idiot can do that. I think what's different is that we wanted this place to be a place where you could play, you can compete, you can create. Like we have stream stations and green screens. So you want to be a content creator, you watch FaZe, you get inspired. You can come over here. You don't need to, invest in all the equipment. We have an incubator. We have co-working. Like we wanted to make a big, huge esports community space.
Sweet. And so what's like a lot of people know like traditional sports, all right, and esports is obviously different. So how do kind of the business models differ with esports? I know there's sponsorship and all that stuff still going on, but in the background, like what's like the core difference between the 2 business models?
Sure. So the esports industry is by and large sponsorship driven. Okay. Latest numbers I've seen, it's definitely north of 50. I've even seen 60 or close to 70% coming from sponsors. So no doubt that's the name of the game. When I look at the value of an esports company or a team, I don't give 2 shits how much they've won in competitive earnings. I just want to know how much money they brought in sponsors, and really more significantly, non-endemics. Like, can you get a bank to sponsor your esports team, or can you get a car dealership, whatever? Here's the main difference. I'll just explain briefly. In the esports world, there are franchise leagues and there are non-franchise leagues. Easiest way to explain is with sports. Franchise league, we all know NFL, NBA, NHL. You buy a franchise from the league. It's a controlled environment. It's pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
And then non-franchise leagues kind of model more like golf and tennis, where if you have the skill, you can qualify for a tour. And there's majors, there's minors. You kind of pick your own schedule, and you run it like that. And that there is kind of a case for a lot of these single player games tend to be like that, non-franchise, and more of the team games are franchised.
Okay.
Now, when you buy a franchise from the NFL, you don't need to worry that they're creating more footballs. For sure, the NFL is not making any more sports. And you could even say there hasn't been another football brand like the XFL or arena football have really amounted to nothing. But the risk in esports is, you buy a Riot franchise. Riot is developing new franchises and new products and things like that could upset your investment in the industry.
Sweet. And I think that's really kind of something new I learned today. I didn't really know that kind of model was existent. And one maybe question before we move on to Sherson here is in terms of payment for a lot of these players. Does that kind of trickle through, like, say, sponsorship, and say bigger teams often have better players due to the size of sponsorship, similar to, like, say, a sports team that has better players because they have a more friendlier cap situation or something like that?
Yeah, there's no caps. There's no salary caps in esports. There are actually salary floors, so there are minimum salaries for most leagues, League of Legends, Overwatch, Call of Duty. So yeah, to some degree, the best teams can buy their way in. It's a little bit different than sports. I think players, when they look to sign with a team in pro sports, it's largely money. I don't know. I guess in esports it is too, but I think the brand is a little bit more important. Like, at the end of the day, if you play for the 49ers or you play for the Bills, I don't really think it makes too much of a difference what your career is, like how that impacts your career after. But most of these guys, they're likely going to be streamers or analysts or whatever after the fact, and their careers are very short. So like the brand, the team, all that, I think is maybe a little bit more important or complementary to how much they're going to get paid.
Yeah. So say, for example, I work, or you're a gamer for Optic or FaZe, that probably has a longer lasting effect in terms of your career overall.
Yeah, definitely. It's a good start. I mean, most of the top streamers are not signed to teams anyway, or they tend to leave their teams once they get big enough. Some do, a lot of them do. I'm not saying all of them. But I think the big difference is in pro sports, like what's a linebacker doing 10 years after the football? Like at best, he's like, doing promos for like a car dealership. Esports, totally, man. A lot of these kids are going to make more money post playing pro than they are playing pro. So it's just a different setup like that.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So Ben, I kind of want to pivot into kind of understanding the venue side of it, the business side of it. So like you mentioned, Amuka Esports is acquiring a bunch of companies for these venues and to create these kind of communities and spaces for them. But what do you foresee in this trend? Obviously, it's been doing well, but I asked this question because of the current climate with the pandemic and things like that. It's kind of thrown everything out of whack. And it's almost like everyone's going towards that virtual experience rather than being physically together, which is kind of the opposite of what we're doing with these venues. So I kind of wanted to understand your perspective on that and what you foresee in the next maybe few months and then few years.
Yeah, sure. Definitely when COVID hit, we were among the hardest hit verticals in esports, venues and, live events, LAN events, things like that. I look at it two ways. Number one, on one hand, look, COVID's not forever. There'll be a vaccine sometime in next year, maybe in the beginning of the year, maybe the end. Like, I'm not going to change an entire business and industry around a virus that will be cured one way or another. Right. And even if we wear masks for another year, like we're already seeing it's not the end of the world. Like we're open for business already. You come in, you wear a mask. When you sit down at your game station, you can take it off if you want. And, we follow all the health and safety procedures. But I think, so yeah, they were definitely out of favor. Right. But, both are needed. And I think when we started, we moved all of our tournaments online thinking this would be a substitute. Great. We'll just throw them all online. And then once we're open, we'll go back. But what we found is they were really successful, and COVID actually pushed us to do online tournaments when we probably wouldn't do them. And our fighting series, for example, like it's all New Yorkers. So, you know, in our model, New York is a geographic barrier because we don't have a venue there. So we wouldn't be doing anything there. So we found new audiences. The temporary pivot is going to keep going. But I also think it's extremely important that we bridge the gap between LAN and online events, you know, so we can have physical game hubs in cities, and then we could have sort of satellite tournaments and, you know, satellite communities via our online platform. And, you know, right now we're looking to build out the technology that's going to really bridge those two, so we can create, you know, larger scale tournaments, but still have that local LAN feel for, you know, grand finals and things like that.
I like that. It's like a whole very holistic approach in terms of how you're fostering those communities, and I think that's a really smart way to go about it. And so one of the things, I guess it's good and bad. Like it's bad for the industry, for the retail industry, but from COVID, a lot of retail spaces have been shutting down and closing, which I would say is probably good for your industry because these are places that you can kind of take up. So in terms of retail spaces that are becoming open and kind of empty now, what is the strategy and what is the outlook in terms of going into these spaces? And just off the top of my head, one of my first kind of thoughts as soon as I saw that was like how you used to have the VR. When VR first came out, you'd have like those little stands in the middle of malls where you can just come in and try it out. Like it's something like that. Like that's what I was picturing. So what do you see for that in terms of retail spaces?
Yeah, I definitely, moving forward, the model is not that we're just going to go retail, but we really want to bring gaming inside existing stores. So in the US, you do have esports arenas that have partnered with Walmarts at a whole bunch of locations, I think mainly in the Midwest. So we see it two ways. Number one, we could go to a electronics retailer, take a couple thousand square feet, run LAN events, tournaments every night of the week. We're literally bringing customers into their stores for them. Like we're pulling them in, the exact people who are buying their products. We are bringing them in day out. So we have a couple RFPs out for those, and that's a way better use of capital for us. We don't have the same build out costs. We can still create really cool gaming experiences without all that overhead. So that's one. And then, yeah, it's a great point about malls. Malls are getting decimated. And, you know, what we're looking to do over the next year is, we want to have gaming in malls so that I don't want to use any gender stereotypes, but if one member of a household wants to go shopping, the other member of the household can, you know, play some Call of Duty and be engaged. And I think that will keep people in malls longer. The cost to set something up is so little because malls have probably one of the best internet connections on the planet, you know, given the amount of stores they have with dedicated lines. So our build out cost there is cheap. And, you know, that's something we're definitely going to probably pilot in the second half of the year.
100%. I'm going to fall into that gender stereotype and say I'm not a gamer, but I would take up gaming if that's available in the malls because I don't want to walk around.
Yeah, I mean, look, I prefer to shop at Zara while my wife plays Call of Duty, but, you know, everyone's different.
Totally fair. It's 2020, equality, right?
Yeah.
So you have very ambitious goals, obviously, with this company, and you've come out to say, hey, we want to be the largest esports venue provider. We want to be the first $1 billion company in the industry. So can you walk us through the strategy that you have to achieve this? Obviously, you already mentioned that the industry is not as big as we think it is. So, like, what is your strategy to kind of break through that barrier?
Sure. So one, I'm not going to be the first. There's already a couple that are probably halfway there. I think we're going to see the Forbes rankings come out sometime in October, November. And my guess there's probably 4 esports orgs that are probably in and around the $500,000 mark already. So I'm not going to say I'm going to be first anymore, but I will get there. I think it's really looking at esports as like really a base, and that supports many other entertainment verticals. Even look, you know, right now we're already seeing that FaZe is commissioned. I forget which. They just announced the director that's going to direct their first film. Whatever, they're going to Hollywood. You know, like
right. Yeah.
So, it's an esports org, but yet obviously they're in merchandise. Obviously they have competitive teams, content creators. but now it's going to be movies. And so I think you have to look at esports as building an entertainment company and an entertainment brand. We do have, is this video podcast or just audio?
Video.
We got both.
Oh, okay. Oh, you should have told me before. I've been like playing with my beard the whole time. Anyway,
That's okay.
No, we love
my
it, man. We
background's
love
a mess. Okay. Anyway, this is our clothing line, organized gaming. So yeah, the way we'll get there is we want to build communities. We want to build gaming communities that have share the same passion, and then totally knock out a whole bunch of verticals that complement and support it.
Fair. So what I want to dive into on that is kind of like the competition, just because the brand, I mean, okay, it is a relatively new industry still, and there's kind of a lot of players in there. So when you're dealing with that level of competition, how do you address that? Especially when we touched on a little bit of it already in terms of online only tournaments, which kind of scale much easier, whereas you're trying to scale kind of on both ends. So how do you manage that competition when you're trying to scale here?
Yeah, well, number one, I'm like the most competitive person in the world. So the way I look at my competitors is I respect them, I admire them, and I want to crush them.
Spoken like a true gamer.
Yeah. Competition, if we're going to put our company more in the esports venue or tournament vertical, definitely venue. We have a few smaller competitors in Canada. I shouldn't even say smaller. One of them is valued at significantly higher than our company now because it went public. So we have some Canadian competitors that all of them just are single location. But yeah, I really look at the States. I want to be competing with Allied. Allied is a monster. They've got a lot of great pieces that they've created. Have you guys ever been to HyperX Stadium at Luxor?
I've not.
No.
So it is like the most beastly esports venue. Firstly, I mean, I don't understand how they make money, but that's for their shareholders to decide. But that aside, like, it is a impressive venue. Like when I went in there, I was like, wow, this is the mecca of gaming. Like, and I haven't been to Arlington yet. I've been to all the venues, but HyperX is amazing. So I aspire to really not just create a lot of venues, but like quality. Like I want something that when people walk into, it like punches you in the face. It's so impressive. So we have Allied, Nerd Street also, like they're a beast. They're a beastly company, what they're doing. I have tremendous respect for them. I want to be like them. I want to create venues that their venue look is amazing. I love the aesthetic. This whole like, where are you guys based out of?
Toronto.
You guys both in Toronto?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't want to use any local analogies, but that blue futuristic look, like that aesthetic is so done. It's so gross. Like I don't want to be in like a weird sci-fi cafe. Like so like Nerd Street has really redefined the aesthetics and looks of esports venues, and I love that. So I look at them as competitors. You have Simplicity. They've got a gazillion venues. Like those guys know how to roll it up. So my competitors are all like such brilliant, sharp people. They're doing great, but I'm going to crush them all.
Sweet. And then can you kind of describe the experience and the importance of that experience of an event-based tournament versus like the online tournament and how that differs as well, and why it's so important to have actual events take place?
Yeah, great example. We had a Tuesday night sports league. Guys would come in, they'd play FIFA or NHL. So both those games being, typically, 1v1. You could just play online, play at home. Like, why leave? The difference is the experience. Like when you come to Waves Gaming, you're on the stage, you got the lights, it's streamed, there's casters, like I'm on, dumps the puck into the back, chases it around. Like you feel like a pro, like the experience you get from playing. And, like when you beat someone in any sport online, it's like, I'm not gonna beat them. But when you look them in the eyes and you just took them down and you won, that's priceless.
Yeah.
That experience will never rival anything you could do online. So online is awesome and like it's cool, but like when you're on stage and you beat someone and you win, that experience is unmatched.
Yeah, and again, spoken like a true gamer. I mean, we see that. I
love it.
I mean, athletes obviously do that in game when we look at sports competitions, but it's very similar in that sense. So, speaking of like sports networks, ESPN now is streaming a lot of esports content on their kind of day-to-day. And so do you think that one day we'll actually see like an esports game being broadcasted like prime time?
So one of the things with these types of questions is, look, the gaming industry has this inferiority complex,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And they need and want the mainstream media and cable broadcasts to showcase them. Like everyone's always excited when, oh, ABC covered League of Legends, but like who cares? You know, cable. No one watches cable. Do you have cable? Do you
Nope.
guys have cable?
Nope.
Like no. So why is everyone in the esports industry so excited for esports to be on cable, which no one watches? Like so. Yes, I know ESPN's a little different. You can OTT, whatever, but like these are like dinosaur media and distribution methods. So I have no interest in seeing esports on major cable networks, including ESPN. I think we've created our own. Like we said, fuck you to mainstream cable. We created our own Twitch, our YouTubes, our Facebook. I mean, they're all owned by conglomerates now. In China, it's a little bit different. There's some, no, they're all owned by Tencent. Whatever, they're all still owned by big media conglomerates, Amazon and Google. But we have our own platforms, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see it moving anywhere else.
Sweet. No, I respect that too. I mean, I personally don't watch any cable. If I'm watching sports news, I'll be online through my phone somehow. So definitely not through the TV. And so, like, kind of to that point, a lot of athletes like Mitch Marner, Juju Smith-Schuster from the Steelers have been kind of really huge on the whole esports kind of vibe. They have Twitch streams and they have online tournaments as well. Do you think that's going to be like a great narrative for to kind of help support the sport grow and move forward?
Absolutely. If I'm allowed to name drop, we have Rondé Hollis Jefferson of the Toronto Raptors. He's our
Sweet.
global brand ambassador. He's great at Fortnite. Um, I think, you know, before COVID, esports was weird and nerdy, and pro athletes really changed things. Like when you see the NBA 2K Players Tournament, like that's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like I want to see what Kevin Durant can do, like in NBA 2K. Like that's what I want to see. I love that Richard Sherman is playing Warzone, and Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner and Zach Hyman, who owns a team, are all like huge Warzone, huge Fortnite players. So yeah, it's really exciting. Um, we've seen already every athlete is already an investor in a company, and that's cool. But now we're really seeing them being ambassadors. So like, yeah, the Weekend is a investor in Toronto and Overactive Media, which is awesome. It's great to see. But like when they actually participate, the way a lot of the Toronto Maple Leafs have, being active, I think that's the narrative that's going to change things.
For sure, for sure. I think, like you said, like with all these athletes coming up, whether investing or being an ambassador, like it's bringing that narrative away from like gaming is weird or gaming is like cliche or niche or whatever it is, and it's putting it in that spotlight. So, with that being said, what misconceptions are you still dealing with today, whether it's in the industry or kind of just with gaming or the gaming kind of competitive gaming industry?
Well, it's not a misconception, but there's risks, you know, and there's issues with gaming. Um, so we can't just forget about that. You know, when you play a lot of video games and a lot of them have addictive qualities to them,
Right.
there's challenges, and I think we have to work through them. You know, the other side of the coin that I always bring up when people talk about, you know, it's not healthy and social is, you know, you have a whole generation of kids that probably didn't fit into the traditional sports model. And
Mm-hmm.
when you don't succeed in sports, which is the epicenter of your social, you know, the social circles in juniors, high school and post-secondary, all the way, it's all about like the cool kids or sports. If you don't fit into that narrative, you lose confidence, and it's challenging, and it's hard to make friends. It's hard to do other things. So I think esports gave so many kids a new outlet and a new opportunity to achieve, to succeed, to learn skills in, you know, communication and strategy, obviously, you know, reflex, muscle memory, all these things. So those are the benefits, but, you know, we can't just, you know, turn a blind eye to the problems. And I think video games needs to work within a healthy framework, both physically and mentally. And I really don't think that is talked about enough, and I don't think that's a big enough focus. And if we want esports and video games to be accepted, then we have to make that part of the play.
For sure.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned that right there, where just because it's such a high intensity sport, there are obviously mental issues that arise from playing video games for an extended period of time and the addictiveness. And it's been well documented in countries like South Korea, which is a hub for, I'd say, a video game and playing. So like, what would you describe like a safe environment or a safe, healthy work environment for these gamers?
Yeah. Well, if you want to talk about the physical or the health, and I'm guilty of it. Like if you come into my venue, yeah, we got a lot of energy drink and a lot of jerky and a lot of confectionery. So even venues like us, we got to do a better job. Actually, I'm big. I don't know, we consider this healthy, but I made sure there's alternative beverages, nuts, and healthier snacks because it's important to me, and I want to offer that. So that's one. I think that certain games are way more toxic than others. That's a huge problem. I'm a parent. I got 4 kids. And like the way people talk to me in CSGO is like not a game I'd want my kids to be playing. And I get bullied, because I suck at CSGO. I don't give a shit because I'm 36 and it means nothing when these like lose bags are, telling me I suck. I know I suck. That's why I'm playing to get better, So again, that's one challenge is how do we monitor it? How do we get that out of the game? How do we get sexual harassment out of the game? The way women are treated, like all these are huge problems that are just like not going to go away unless there's a concerned and concentrated effort. So those are the big problems. In terms of like time in, I don't know, like there's no one size fits all. Like, is it okay to play at 8 hours a day? Yeah, for some people it probably is. That's not a one size fits all solution. Just think it has to be monitored. And definitely, I think the fact that pro players don't have careers longer than 3 or 4 or 5 years on average speaks to potentially the concept of burnout, right? That, if you put in too many hours in the same game, the same thing, like you're going to lose it.
For sure. Yeah. I just want to follow up on that just to understand kind of like your ritual at least. And you mentioned it, you have 4 kids. That's probably keeping you busy as hell. So like, how are you managing your time with gaming, with the business, and then the family as well? Like in terms of tips and tricks to other gamers in the industry?
Yeah. I probably only play about 3 hours a week. Usually 1 or 2 evenings. I like this kind of like dads play Fortnite, this kind of brand. So I play with other old guys like myself, and we stream it, and it's fun, and we try to kill as many kids as possible. And like that's it. We're not looking to get signed. We have no aspirations. We just want to get out there and have fun and complain like old people complain about. And then, just being in the industry, I will try out most of the new games. I streamed Fall Guys today just to check it out. So I'm really just seeing what's out there. And I guess, and this is very unlike most people's situations, I have to go to the office to game. So like if I'm at home, I don't have a computer. I don't have a gaming computer at home. So if I want to game, I literally have to drive. I only live 5 minutes from my office, but still I have to get in the car and game. So at least that probably limits my gaming. If I had this nice setup in my basement, yeah, I'd probably be tempted to play almost every night.
Sweet. And do I see like gaming gear back, like your shirts and stuff?
Yeah, I didn't know this was video.
Oh, well, you can show it now. Let's just
Sure. So sometimes when I stream, I want some outfits. So I like to support local. So you guys obviously know this one. Toronto Defiant.
Yeah.
It's Toronto's Overwatch team. Esports jerseys are actually very uncomfortable. Like
really,
they should just be t-shirts. Like I don't like this. This
is
is
it polyester? Yeah.
Shattered Dreams. It's a local esports team. So I got my name and my country of. I mean, I'm Jewish. I'm not Israeli, but got that on the back. We actually own a CS:GO team in Sweden.
Okay.
So it's called Dragonborn. Is my name on the back? No, just Amuka on the back. We got Overwatch League, again, I just thought this was like a really cool jersey from the
Yeah, I like that one. I really like that one.
Spark.
Yeah.
We're almost done. Organized Gaming. This is our our clothing brand, a black on black jersey. I'll skip. And then again, I think this is another one of my favorite styles. Houston Outlaws.
It's almost like a camo kind of
jersey here. It's kind of a controversial logo with the guns, and I'm probably afraid they're going to change it eventually. But cool jersey. I have a couple more at home.
Oh,
it's actually esports hats is really what I collect. I probably got about 20 or 25 different north. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. Yeah. And you mentioned earlier that's your clothing line there too, right? Organized?
Yeah, Organized Gaming. This is our no white flags tee.
No white flags, because you're just going to crush your competition.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that kind of concludes our questions about the business side. And we like to end off our podcast episodes with our guests with just like a fun lightning round where we kind of bombard you with some quick questions and hope to get like an answer that's on the tip of your tongue within 10 seconds, just to get to know you a bit better. So I'm just going to give you 3 to 4 questions here. So we'll start off. What is your favorite book of all time?
Into the Wild.
Ooh, okay.
Have you ever read it or seen the movie?
I've seen the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing book. Yeah.
I'll have to go back, but I know the story. Favorite game of all time, staying in your realm here.
It's probably NHL 94.
Ooh, that's actually a classic.
I have the SNES. Where is it? There it is.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. I love it. This maybe we might get an answer that surprises us. I don't know. We'll see. You have a long, busy day at work. You come home. How do you choose to unwind?
Gaming wise?
Or just in general, what's your choice? If it is gaming, then yeah.
I don't get to unwind. But if I did get to unwind, you know what? I actually love to play PUBG Mobile. Lie on the couch, PUBG Mobile. It's one of my favorite games.
All right. And last but not least, we want to know your taste in food. Do you agree with pineapples on pizza or not?
Absolutely, but even better, I went vegan now, and I do pineapple. I do a barbecue. I barbecue the pineapple with a Beyond Meat burger.
Okay.
Wow.
And I put that on with like a nice habanero sauce, and that's my like Hawaiian veggie burger.
Sweet.
I love it. We're getting our own recipes on the podcast here.
Yeah. For sure.
Ben, thank you. Like this kind of concludes our questions around about what you're doing in the sports, in the industry, and then in the league as well. We're seeing a lot of growth, and we love what you're doing, your company as a whole, and hopefully we get to see you hit that milestone of being the first $1 billion company. I'm not ruling it out. You can still be the first.
As soon as I hit $1 billion, I'm coming back on the podcast and explain how I got there.
Exactly. And then let us know if we can ever come by your studio or your venue and check that out. That would be amazing.
What do you guys do tomorrow? Come by. We're open.
I'm actually in Toronto tomorrow, so downtown.
Come by. I'm usually here from like 9:30 to 4:30, but the venue is open to you can come then, or we're open Friday till, I don't know, 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh, sweet.
12,
okay.
Sorry, 12.
Okay.
COVID hours. We're open till midnight.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you a shout. I'll definitely come by and see if I can make time. I really want to see like the experience and what it looks like. I mean, I'm huge on NHL. That's the only game I've ever been good in. I've been shit in every other game. So
we have every NHL, like all the original from 91. We have NHL 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, and then 98 onwards. It's all that was the PlayStation generation.
I was ranked. I think the highest I've been ranked in NHL was like top 100 in NHL 12.
Wow.
I religiously played that like for a while, and then I just hated the other games that started coming out with the new features. Just didn't like the whole engine and whatnot.
The stick. What's it called?
Skill stick.
But you can with all the games you can do a hybrid controller.
And some of the dynamics around the game, the newer ones, I just don't like it. I don't know. I just like the older one. The older one.
Yeah, me too. It's like it's so it's like so many games. Like
Yeah.
there's only so much like your brain can comprehend. That's why
Yeah.
the early NHLs, like it's easy. You know, I'm gonna do a double, triple deke one timer or something. Like
Yeah.
there's not a gazillion things I could do.
Yeah. Sweet. Awesome, man. So I, again, appreciate you being on here. Let's keep in touch. I want to see how your journey goes and then kind of unfolds. And so, and hopefully you'll see me tomorrow. So let's get this on.
Yeah, sounds good. Anytime, guys.
All right.
Thank
Sweet.
you so much, Ben.
All right,
Hey.
take care.